Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP Jump Oz. With me today, two very special guests, New Jersey wrestling legends. They've been tag team champs in the ECWA, NWA New York, NWA New Jersey, all around NWA 2000, all those leagues. The Extreme, Team Extreme at one point, the Extremist, Ace Darling, and Crowbar, Devin Storm. Guys, welcome. How you doing?
What's up,
Wow,
John?
our first ever tag team like interview thing, like official, like not at like a convention or something like that. This is cool.
Yeah,
Wow,
man.
nice. Nice. When
Yeah,
was the,
buddy.
by the way, we'll start with Ace, I guess, but when was the last time you guys actually did team together?
Oh, I,
A long time ago in a
2000
galaxy far,
and
far away.
it was for Jim. I'll tell you, it was for Jim Kettner. It was a ladder
Yep,
match with Rob Eckos and Billy Bax,
and Billy
Rob
Backs,
Rob Strauss.
and I think it was pretty damn good
2007,
match.
2007, 2008 ish.
Great finish, by the way.
What
I
was
don't
the
even know if they
finish?
finished. Well,
Climbing up on the ladder. I think Ace had it. I think him and Rob were fighting over the belt, I think, and I power bombed Billy Bax, and as he came up in the power bomb,
oh no,
he
we were fighting
grabbed it.
over. We were fighting over the belt.
Someone,
Me and Rob were playing
yes,
tug of war, and then
and I
Crowbar
power
tried
bombed
to
Billy
power bomb
Bax,
him,
and at the peak of the power bomb, he grabbed the belt.
Damn.
and he power bombed them down, took the bump, but they won the match. Sons of bitches.
Now, going back though, Crowbar, when is the first time you teamed though? Like, when did you guys first meet? Would it be with Iron Mike Sharp?
Maybe a little bit after. I mean, I started there in '91, and then into '92. I don't even know the exact timeline. Wow, we should have
I
prepped
know,
better, huh?
I know exactly. No,
All right.
I joined up to Mike Sharp's school on a
Yeah,
Friday, and it was the following Friday. You came in. You had your varsity jacket on. It said 92 on the back. It was in the year 1992, and I graduated 1992 as well. So I'm like, oh wow, here's someone I can try and befriend. Someone who's my
yeah.
age, so, someone who's you know been here for a little bit, and that's how I first met Chris. He walked into Mike Sharp's wrestling school with his football varsity
And I'm going
jacket
to
on,
use
and
this opportunity to let the whole world know that he bullied me, he harassed me, he hid my. No, he didn't. He was great.
back in the day, you could though. You're allowed
Yeah.
to offend people. In 1992, you do a lot of crap you can't do in 2023, 2024, or whatever.
He
You
made
can't.
fun of my mullet and he made fun of my big nose.
Hey, back in those days, even I was a little bit later than you guys, but for football, the hazing and stuff, the stuff you can get away with, that nowadays, forget about it. You wouldn't be able to do that stuff.
Yeah. You can't even
Now,
He
call.
told
You can't
me,
even call.
beat it, kid. This business ain't for you.
You
now,
can't
did you
even
guys
call a
start at
boy
the
a
same
boy
exact time?
anymore.
Did you start for Mike at the same exact time?
No, he
More or
was there a couple
less.
months before me though.
Yeah.
So, Crowbar, what did you think about Iron Mike? I mean, he's got a legendary status. He was on WWF TV for God almost 15 years straight, basically. I mean, so many people know who he is, whether he won or lost.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who he is. But what was like the initial getting in there and training with him? What was it like?
So looking back now, I've I've really been asked this a lot in like in recent interviews, and right now it's very odd. But at that time, we had no frame of reference, so it didn't seem odd at all. At least when I started there, like if I go to train now and I go to work out at a local ring, I wear shorts or sweats. I throw my knee pads on, sneakers, tank top, or old T-shirt, and you train. You bump around, you hit the ropes. If there's a crash mat, you jump off the ropes, land on the crash mat. You do what you got to do. Mike was there, and when I started, and I'm not sure how long it continued for, but I think whenever he trained guys, at least when I was there, Mike trained you like he was coming out at the garden. Black boots, black trunks, oiled up. He would often put the armband on, and in hindsight now, it's nuts. But as a brand new green kid that didn't know any better with no frame of reference, it was pretty awesome. But at the very beginning there, he came out and trained like he was going out at the garden. You know,
I love that. Ace, what about you with Iron Mike? What the initial reaction to training with him?
Well, that shows you that Chris was definitely there before I was, because when I got there, I saw Mike Sharp in the ring maybe one time. Mike Sharp, he never got in the ring. I mean, Mike Sharp is a very nice man, a very honest man, a very hard worker in the ring. As far as a talent, he was unbelievable, very underrated. But as far as a wrestling school, when I look back, I'm like, that school stunk as far as a wrestling school. They didn't teach you. There was no promo class. There's no class at all. It was, okay, when you get in the ring, you each take a corner and you all go in and you learn from each other. There was no teaching. Mike, I locked up with Mike Sharp at a day camp one time when he got booked for an appearance, and I went along as his crash test dummy. But besides that, that's all that Mike Sharp has ever locked up with me or ever give me any advice or anything. Like it wasn't like, again, not bad mouthing Mike
by the
Sharp.
time you got there was a lot more students, and he kind of led it to the guys who just used the ring. You know, but at the very beginning,
it wasn't Bobby Piper, Mike Terrace. I would have no one to practice on back in the day.
At the very beginning, it really was just me, him, and Tom Runsby, Jack Flash, and it was 3 people. And I believe he was trying to get a reputation going, so he had to be in that ring training people, and people had to see him actively hands-on training people. And then as time went on and he got more members and guys were able to work with themselves and stuff like that, he phased himself out.
Ace, what led you to him in the beginning to begin with? Like, why did you pick Iron Mike Sharp? Because of the TV notoriety? Because he was local, or what was the reason?
He was 15 minutes from my house.
Nice.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was very convenient, and yeah, it was right there. I might give you a key too, so you can go anytime you wanted. If you wanted to hook up,
I never got a key.
Uh-oh.
But yeah,
more the mental hazing.
There I go. Ha, I got a key. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that, and Mike was good like that. He let you come in, you can work out, you could use the ring whenever you wanted.
My first ever house show match was 1990. I was only 7 at the Brendan Byrne Arena. First ever match. First guy that came out was Iron Mike Sharp. Of course, he lost to Hercules, but he came out first. And we were with my dad and my dad's friend. And, we're in like the third or second, or I think we were in the second row, and yelling at Mike Sharp. Mike Sharp was getting into it with my dad's friend. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. What am I like? He is not a small guy, first of all. And second of all, he's getting in the fans' faces. He did not care. What was he really like, though? Like attitude wise, was he like brash? I know obviously the OCD issues, but I guess we'll start with Crowbar. Like, what was he actually like, though, personally, like attitude-wise?
They're very soft-spoken. He had a very strong voice, but still soft-spoken, if that makes sense. You agree with that, Mike? He had a very powerful voice, but it was a very soft delivery, very gentle delivery, and like everything that he talked about. And he said, a whole lot. Yeah,
Very kind man.
But he's great.
Like,
really
kind,
yeah.
A
really
mean bone in his body, I don't think he wasn't like a vindictive, wasn't like a mean person. He was
not
very
at all.
nice,
No,
gentle.
Not at all.
I just love that, obviously he's keeping kayfabe. Looking back, it's great. As at a house show as a kid, you're kind of getting scared of this guy because he's the heel, he's a bad guy, but he's also getting in people's faces too. It's like, I was like, I don't know if I like this guy. I hope Hercules kicks his ass. I hope he wins. So he was doing a good job kayfabe wise.
Chris, remember Mike Sharp would always talk about that asshole from the Meadowlands that got on his nerves. Remember that?
Yeah,
that was his friend's dad. He'd always talk about that in class.
Oh yeah. When the OCD stuff did occur, though, what's like the brunt? Because you always hear stories, but are guys going too far? Are they making it up? You hear certain wrestlers will ham it up like, oh, they locked him in the building. They, he was there overnight. What's the stem of it, and what was really the issues of the OCD stuff that was going on with him?
I remember his bag, giant hockey goalie bag. If you've ever seen a hockey goalie bag, they're huge because they have to accommodate the leg pads and the helmets and the shoulder pads. And it was like one of those Russian dolls you get, those doll eggs. He opened a big bag, and there was a smaller bag inside the big bag. And then inside the smaller bag, there were Ziploc bags. And inside the big Ziploc bags, there were super organized, pristine.
I remember he was very he was a germaphobe before that was even a thing. He would have a pad that he put on the ground if he was going to get. Where'd you go? He put a. I'm so dizzy. They put a pad on the ground if he was to put his knee on the ground to like put his boots on because he didn't want his knee to touch the ground. I remember we were at a TV taping one time, and he had a cup of coffee in it, one of those little stirrers in it, and he started stirring it really, really fast. And we talked for about 15 minutes, and the entire conversation, he's stirring his cup of coffee just like this as fast as he can for the entire conversation. But yeah, he did get locked in the belt. He definitely did get locked in the building one time because he was taking a shower. I've been at TV with him before, and everybody loved Mike. Like all the agents, like Tony Garea, all the guys. When Mike walked in, they're like, "Oh!" They're all like making the Mike Sharp mannerisms. And I remember one time Mike Sharp. This was in '92 in July. I did my first TV, and Mike Sharp brought me up to Bret Hart. And he goes to Brett. He goes, "Oh, Brett, this is one of my students. Tell him how I used to beat you up. Tell him how I used to beat you. Tell him I was a star back in the day." He's making a joke, and Bret Hart goes, "Yeah, I used to beat the hell out of his forearm with my head."
That was great. The strap, if you will, on the forearm.
But Mike was hard. He was a hard hitter in the ring too. Hard hitter.
Canada's greatest athlete.
Yeah.
When you look at it, right, he's quote unquote an enhancement guy, but you didn't really look at him like that, right? Because you just looked at him like this guy is your connection to WWF, right?
I mean, I looked at him as a talent. There's job guys, like there's job guys, and then there's workers who lose matches. Yeah, I think there's definitely a big difference.
Yeah.
Like Mike Sharp could go in there and have a 20-minute match with anybody. Barry Horowitz could go in there and have a 20-minute match with anybody.
Yep. I've gained a much larger appreciation for Mike's body of work later on. Like even now, I'll hop on the bike, do cardio, and I'll watch like the old school stuff on the network. The arena shows, and I'm not being an old head saying this or not. When you do a lot of the modern moves, big sky high, big power bomb, boom, you land. 1, 2, and both guys lay there, and it's great, and it looks impressive, and all that. But if you've ever been in the ring, the way Mike just didn't stop, like to go out there and stomp and forearm and kick and whip off and get knocked down and get Mike Sharp never stopped. He never did anything super big, but in order for an athlete, if you've never been in a pro wrestling ring, if you've never wrestled, in order to work that style requires incredible stamina and cardiovascular training. And on top of that, I don't know, Mike, sometimes when you get out there, you're blown up, you're tired, and you try to interact with the crowd, you're tired, you don't want to do it. Mike did all that on top of screaming and yelling nonstop like a maniac. And I watch it now and I say, wow, that guy could effing go. I mean, like go and not get tired. A cardiovascular monster. If you could really break down how moves are done and how selling is done like that, he was amazing.
What do you think?
You agree with that, Mike?
I was going to say before you were done, before you got to the point about how he was yelling and screaming the entire time, I was going to add that to it. That'll blow you up. Just doing that.
Yeah.
I wish when I was 17, 18, 19 at school, I just knew Mike Sharp from the WWF. Through all the social media and all the just how pro wrestling is at our fingertips now and the history. And I know so much more about Mike's career now. I wish I knew that then, so I could have picked his brain a little bit and asked him more about the business of pro wrestling, because that's something that we never really even talked about.
We never learned really
in wrestling school. Because Mike was everywhere. Mike was everywhere. Mike did a lot. He teamed up.
We never even learned a handshake
in Japan.
Like I never even showed us a handshake.
He never taught us Carney. Stevie Richards taught me Carney. We're in Seaside. He starts talking Carney. I'm like, what are you saying? Stevie Richards taught me Carney. Shout out to my buddy Stevie.
Wow, so he didn't even like break it down for you as far as like,
Now, he
hey,
didn't
this is
smarten us up really. Nah.
wow.
Well, he did as
Why
far
not?
as it being a work and it
Of course,
not
yeah.
being work, but as far as like the business, like there's different educations that a trainer should give you, and there's how to conduct yourself in the locker room, how to conduct yourself on the road, how to certain things. And as far as the business of pro wrestling, that was never taught to us.
Why not though? How come it's just escaped him, or he didn't want to divulge too much, or what was the reason?
I don't know. The world will never know.
Yeah, it goes in a secret way with him as he passed away. It's interesting he never got
Seriously,
an
yeah.
action figure. If you think about it, he should have got an action figure. He was there for so long.
I think they could make one now, and it would be hot. It'd be a rare, hot new. Well, they made a lot of guys. They never made him. I really think an Iron Mike Sharp action figure would sell.
Like Outback Jack had his own figure, but Iron Mike Sharp, he beat
Mike Sharp way more
Outback Jack
recognizable.
and beat him a bunch. Yeah, so it's weird. It's like,
Yeah.
Interesting. Definitely
Mike-
should have gotten a figure.
Mike didn't have that theme song that Outback had. Man,
Well, yeah, that theme song.
that was a catchy tune, man.
Yeah.
Sing. I know you all know the words. Come on, sing it with me. Time
Timey kangaroo down, sport. Timey
Come on, John, what, you
kangaroo
gonna sing with us?
down.
I was literally listening to that song before because I was looking up Outback Jack from Humpty Doo, Australia. Yeah,
There you go.
man, just it's such a perfect guy for that era, though. Iron Mike Sharp. You know what I mean? That he just fit that era of WWF so perfectly. Does he actually help you guys when you guys start getting matches? Is he the one that is the connection, or no?
No.
Not for me personally, no.
Wow, I'm surprised. So he trained you, right, Crowbar? But he didn't actually like bridge the gap to get you in the door.
Not really, no.
Why
I think
is that?
I think it's more looked at now as more of a business, like the indies. And back when we were breaking, it seemed like it was just the big leagues, or you were just doing as minor league as outlaw mud show as you could get. Now it seems like everyone's working for a company. Everyone's working on TV. Everyone's working in front of a camera, in front of large crowds. So I think nowadays that stuff is more instilled in you during your training than it was before. Because what do you need to do? Tell us how to go make $50 on an indie show, 2 Saturdays a month, rather than now you start wrestling, you're going to be working, for companies. But you mentioned did Mike Sharp get you matches? I was just turned 18 years old. We were in the Asbury Park Convention Center, and WWF was there for a house show. And I went because from Jersey, and Tony Garea was there. I'm the one who went up to Tony Garea and I said, I'm one of Mike Sharp's students. If you ever need enhancement guys, I think we talked about this before, John.
Yep.
If I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry, but
No,
if you ever need enhancement guys, I'd love to work for you. And then the next day in class, Mike Sharp's like, who told Tony Garea I have a school? So I did. But then we started getting booked.
Wow, that's crazy though that Garea wouldn't even know that Iron Mike Sharp had a school, and he's greets him every time he sees him backstage. Crowbar, is that one of those things where he's trying to keep the school kayfabe from WWF for some odd known reason?
In hindsight, I have no idea. I know there's a lot of weird backstage. I know, like, reasons to do this or that. A lot of the old school guys, though they were very friendly, they were all very suspicious of one another, and they kept things close to the vest. I have no idea what his exact motivation would have been to not let out that he had a school, but apparently he had a reason.
Ace, if you look at it, like look at the Italian Stallion or George South. Hey, by the way, Tony Garea, I have all these guys, and then he'd collect some money from those guys and take them to the show. I mean, there's like a business to it that he should have created.
I mean, one could argue, and again, I don't know if this would be the reason or not. Maybe he wanted to make some money on the school, but at the same time, if he starts to train some good, competent wrestlers at that time, Mike Sharp was an enhancement guy, a very well-known enhancement guy, but he was still an enhancement guy. Now, you have some more bodies out there that could potentially do your job that are younger. I'm not saying that that's the motivation, but could it potentially be? Sure.
Ace, that
Wrestling's weird like that, you know?
wouldn't that be perfect, Ace? If like he would help somebody else get along with him almost.
Like, again, I don't know if that's the reason, but I can see it.
Or another thing too, I'm thinking is that we were very green. We were very green. Like none of us. There wasn't 15 shows every weekend back in 1992.
Nah.
We were very, very green, and maybe felt like we weren't ready. Maybe he didn't want to put a stamp on his guys, and we go up there and embarrass them. I don't know. It's not like the podcast business, John. Like you and I, we work together hand in
Yes.
hand. We help each other out. Pro wrestling isn't always like that, buddy.
And I guess like you're kind of right because he was probably there to like 95 basically doing enhancement matches. So he was there even though, even if you guys are kind of swinging into your prime a little bit, he was still there.
Yeah, he was on the twilight of his career. It was his last years.
He didn't want you to steal a spot. He didn't want Ace Starling stealing a spot.
You said that, not me.
Maybe, let me say that it's totally feasible,
I think so many people remember you guys from WCW, from Nitro, from Wrestling Hall and Nash, the Outsiders, the NWO. How the hell, I guess we'll start with Crowbar. How did that even come about? I know you have, I guess, somewhat of a relationship or had a relationship maybe with Sullivan. Who gets you guys in the door?
I went down first via Kevin Sullivan through Tony Rumble and Dennis Carluzzo somehow. And I was there originally as a cruiserweight guy, wrestled Conan, wrestled Eddie Guerrero on the Saturday Night Show, went to ECW for maybe a year, just under a year, and then we formed a tag team, and we get a lot of bookings up in the Boston area. Tony Rumble knew Kevin Sullivan well. Kevin had seen us up there, and one day we just got the call. I don't even remember exactly how it all came to pass. I think it was Tony Rumble, maybe.
Yeah, it was. I kept saying, Kevin, you got anything for? Can you use me? Can you use me? He's like, I don't have a spot for you, and I'm like, can you just bring me up and let me work? And I just want to be in the mix. He's like, well, I can't give you a contract right now, but if you want to come up and do TV, absolutely. And then before we knew it, we were booked on a lot of TVs.
Yeah,
we were booked so much that we got booked for that Disney, that like long 30 days in Disney, and we had to say no because we had college at the time, so and we're taking summer classes, so we couldn't do that. I look back, can't look back with hindsight, but that 30 days in Disney, we would have had some fun those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. So how does the Outsiders tag match come about, though? How do they put you on Nitro for that tag match for that?
So we did a few matches. See, I knew
back-to-back weeks. Yeah,
I worked Kevin Nash doing TV for WWE.
Yep.
And I knew Scott Hall there. Scott Hall was always super cool to me when I was doing TV for WWE. Always super. He'd put his bag right next to you and change next to you and say, "How's your day?" and tell me, he just talk to you, get to know you. So I always had a lot of respect for both those guys. And Kevin loved me because I took this crazy bump for him on Nitro one time. Literally, he grabbed me by the throat and he choke slammed me. I took this huge bump over the top rope. You ever see that bump, Chris?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I took this huge bump for him, and he never forgot that. And we did a few matches for WCW. I think the first TV we worked with High Voltage.
Yep.
And I worked with Glacier that night, and you had a singles match. You worked with Eddie again.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we got booked for a few more. And once again, college came up. You went up to TV. I couldn't. And we got booked. We were told to Steiner's, and we got there. It was Hall and Nash. I think that's how it was. I'm not sure.
Yep.
And it was what it was. And then 2 weeks later, we're in the airport, and he and I, we were too young to even rent cars back then.
Yeah.
So we're walking to the airport, and we hear, "Hey, look around! It's Kevin Nash. He's sitting down.
He's having a rematch."
Yeah, he's sitting. He's sitting. He's as tall as we are. We were standing up. And he's like, "We're where you guys going? I'm like, we're trying to get to the hotel or the arena. He's like, you're coming with me, boys. So we came with him. He's like, you're wrestling us tonight. And I go, no, I think like you saw it on Saturday night. It said, on Nitro, Devin Storm and Ace Sterling versus the Steiners or something like that. That there's something in the air that we were supposed to wrestle someone else.
Yeah.
He's like, who do you think's booking around here? He goes, you guys wrestling me again tonight. All right.
Yeah.
Now, what's up with the name? Why do they call you the Extreme? Technically, you guys were the Extremist, right? They kind of changed it up. Well, why the Extreme?
Why do you think?
To make fun of ECW?
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice. So it's that simple. Okay.
Oh, they never told us that, but they said we're from Stamford, Connecticut. We're called the Extreme, and we got our asses kicked. What do you think? That's a rib. That's a rib and a rib and a rib.
Yeah.
Now,
it's a rib, triple layer rib sandwich there.
Did you mind Crowbar doing the jobs like in that fashion? I know they're the tag team champions for the tag titles technically. Did you mind though that rib or the job or no?
I was happy just to be out there playing around at that time. You too, you agree, man? It was just really cool. Yeah.
And not only that, but it really helped on the indies. Like we'd go to any show together, and people would be like, "Oh, you went Starcade this weekend?" Like just because we were getting, we weren't featured in a prominent role. When we got to the smaller shows, we were huge. The TV experience was huge for us. We're selling a ton of pictures. It would have been nice to get in there and show them more what we can do and be used in a better position. Like we had some good match. We got to wrestle Public Enemy, and and then we'd get booked on the indies, and the main event would be me and Chris versus Public Enemy, because now we're WCW guys now, even though we're just we got our asses kicked on Nitro. Doesn't matter. Now we're WCW guys. So now you're gonna see us on Saturday night
on a poster. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Sure. We just lost to Renegade and Joe Gomez, but in bumfuck Pennsylvania, we're on the top of the card. So it helped with the indies for sure.
Big time. Yep.
Desperado Joe Gomez was no slouch. Come on.
Joe's a good dude.
Love Despy. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Now it's interesting.
How'd you like working with the Renegade, Chris?
Yeah, what do you think about that?
He was something.
He
was something.
With though, like you're saying, like it's almost like a resume builder, because people see you on Nitro. Nitro was the #1 show. That was during the 83 weeks of dominance. They were, the number one. They were the hottest show in wrestling. So even if you guys are doing jobs, or even if you're losing on TV, you're losing to the NWO, the Outsiders, the tag champs, and you're getting TV time during, an awesome period for wrestling when everybody was watching back then.
Yep.
Another thing is like Chris went on to do a lot more than I did, and he got to go on TV and be featured and make a name for himself. For someone like me, if I didn't do that WCW TV, we did some WWF TV together as well, he and I. But if I didn't do that, like if you mentioned my name, someone outside the Northeast wouldn't even know the hell I was. Now, if you were a wrestling fan in the 90s, you mentioned my name, you pretty much, I heard of that guy before,
Yeah.
Like when I reach out to guys to do interviews for my YouTube show, if I say, oh, it's like, yeah, I remember your name. Like if I wasn't on, they had that little bit of TV, people wouldn't probably even know who the hell I was.
It's cool because I'm like a New Jersey guy, obviously, but I was going to the indie shows at that point. It's like, oh my God, Devin Storm. He just wrestled in New Jack City Wrestling. Come play in our hood. And, there's Ace Sterling. Like, I just saw him at the Raritan High School. You know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, they're wrestling the Outsiders. Damn, that's awesome.
New Jack City.
Those weekends at that time, outside of the Nitro, we were going almost every single weekend, 2, sometimes 3 nights. You do Friday, Saturday, sometimes it was a Sunday day. A lot of traveling together, a lot of fun, and it was a really great team. And probably my favorite style of pro wrestling to this day is still tag team wrestling. It's just kind of a lost art, and I'd love to tag again, but it's with my schedule and life, everything else, it just wouldn't be fair to a partner to accept. Let's explore that on a regular basis with somebody,
Plus, with your partner, won't take any bumps. You can't be a tag partner.
Nah, I'd love to tag with Mike, but I know he would never do it. But even like another person, level. Like I said, I love tag wrestling, but it's just it would not be fair to another person because my schedule is so hectic and crazy, and things like that. And I would want to hold somebody down, you know.
Ace,
John,
do you wish
you want to know how busy his schedule? You want to know how busy his schedule is? He blew me off, 5 times to come on the show? Come on,
Yes,
how long
true.
did it take him to get him to commit to this hour? My
That's
God.
true. True. That's true. He's too busy. He's too
I'm
busy.
unshaven. I got my work clothes on still. I just made this one.
Ace, what do you think about tag wrestling nowadays? Because it is a lost art. Why is it a lost art?
Because there's no tag teams. There's no tag teams. It's putting two single guys together to forward a storyline rather than to get a team over and to get the whole tag team division over. I mean, we got to work with a lot of great tag teams. Me and Chris, we worked with, like we said, Hall and Nash. We worked the Headbangers together. We worked with name some teams we worked together. Chris, we worked Too Cool together.
Public
We
Enemy.
worked
Yeah.
with
Yep.
we worked with
Public Enemy.
DOA,
Yep.
the Harris brothers. We got to work with a lot of great tag teams, but we had to learn from a lot of great tag teams. Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, the Rockers, the Heart Foundation, the British Bulldogs. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, it was Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton, but they were the Midnight Express. You know what I mean? They were. You don't think of, oh man, do I want to see a headbanger mosh match tonight? No, you don't think like that. When someone was a team, they were a team, and they looked like a team. They dressed like a team, and that's what tag team wrestling was. But I mean, and just plus another thing that you'll never see tag team wrestling is the time. You need 15 minutes to tell a good story. If you had the Midnight Express right now and the Rock and Roll Express, and you gave them 4 minutes on Raw, I mean, come on. What are they gonna do in 4 minutes? They're not even gonna warm up in 4 minutes. So that's another thing too. Everything is so rushed and overexposed these days that I don't see a good future for tag team wrestling. Who are the tag team champs right now? Is Damian Priest and okay. Is Damian Priest and Finn Balor a tag team? No.
Not really.
It's Damian Priest and Finn Balor. They're doing this to get till they get to the next storyline. They weren't like a team for 10 years before they won the belts.
It does seem like at least Triple H gives them longer matches, though, at least for the most part.
Yeah. I haven't watched.
Do you watch?
I like the
I was gonna say.
I like the Vikings a whole lot. Good gimmick, big guys, something different stands out. They match. Big fan of the Vikings.
Yeah, it stinks. Ray Rogue, I forget his name on TV. Is it Eric and Ivar or whatever the heck it is? He got hurt, so it's Ivar by himself right now. Yeah, hurt his neck.
I did not know that. Wow. Oh no.
He's a hell of a big man, though. Ivar.
Oh yeah.
He's from the Northeast.
Yeah, he's awesome. Big fan of his. Yeah.
Shows. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big Boston guy, like that area. He used to do a ton of shows. Yep. Crowbar, do you watch a lot of current or no?
I record a lot of it. I watch what I can. I fast forward through, so I don't get the whole story of what's going on with the show, but I'll fast forward. I'll watch for the matches, and if I'm watching for me, like the other night I was doing cardio, and I don't want to scout an opponent. I was just scouting opponents the past couple of weeks just to become familiar with their moveset and stuff like that. I just wanted to watch wrestling, and I threw on some old school stuff. When I watch it for myself to enjoy as a fan, I'll always throw on something, late 80s or early 90s WCW, WWF, and I'll start off just watching it to enjoy it, but I'll always find something, oh, wow, that was pretty good, and always pick something out of there. But when I will watch modern wrestling just to stay proficient on the style and what guys are doing, so that when I go to a show and I have to work with somebody that's a lot younger than me and they're calling these moves, I know what they are.
When you are watching current wrestling, do you like what you're seeing though, or do you not like because the style to me a lot less psychology, a lot less storytelling, and a lot just moves for the sake of moves. Do you
Okay.
like what you're seeing or no?
I'll say this. Uh, when I watch it as this event, I think the best time was like that late '80s, early to mid '90s era. The guys were larger than life. The characters were great. The work rate and the psychology was fantastic. There were some big moves. A lot of the moves were a whole lot safer than they are now. When Chris Ford watches pro wrestling as a fan. That being said, you got to evolve or go instinct. So I do watch modern wrestling. I stay proficient in modern wrestling. I watch what these guys are doing on TV. I like it's not my favorite to watch, but I do watch it and I do follow it and I try to learn the style and what guys are doing. So I'm not crapping on it. I just like what I grew up on better. And there's always going to be a nostalgia there. There's always going to be an internal, visceral like feeling for something you grew up watching, and you're going to like it better. But it's so I like wrestling of that time a whole lot better. But I watch a lot of modern wrestling.
Ace, do you watch
That
current?
fair?
Yes, very fair, very fair.
I need to Google half the words he said there. What's visceral
Well,
mean? But anyway,
like it is like
anyway,
in your gut, you know.
John, he heard that word and he's been waiting to use it for like
Yes.
3 weeks now. He's like,
Yes.
yes, I get to use it. No, I don't watch. I watch. No, I don't watch. I was watching a Raw and was it NXT. I was watching some sort of you like that? I was watching some watch-alongs with Rene Dupree,
Okay.
and Raw was the longest 4 weeks of my life. That one episode, it was just brutal, and there's no
You
selling.
felt it viscerally that it was very long.
I did. Yeah, it just I think no one sells, and everyone looks like listen. I was 5'10", 5'11", 240 at my biggest, jacked up. But that would be a giant these days. Everyone is just so tiny. Everyone just does a million things. There's no King Kong Bundy said it best. Pro wrestling is about physical stature. And you need that. You still need that, even though, like Chris said, you have to evolve. You have to evolve. You still need stars, and stars got to look a certain way. They can't all look like the guy next door. They can't. It's pro wrestling.
To me, the most over guy, Roman Reigns, he wrestles old school, very slow, methodical. I mean, he does have the high spots and the moves in there, but he wrestles like that Hogan style that he kind of popularized, that sports entertainment style. Get the crowd involved, sell
And
psychology.
he looks like a superhero. He
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a superhero.
Yeah.
Even that match last year against Sami Zayn, he didn't wrestle for the first 5 minutes. He did nothing. The crowd was going nuts. So I was like, most of these guys in the other company, especially, they'll ignore the crowd and they'll just fight, spot. He literally just waited and stared at Sami Zayn's wife, got huge heat, stared at somebody else. Like it was really, I was like, wow, this guy's so old school. I love it.
Yeah,
That's kind of
you're right.
the way you like. I don't know. To me, that's what guys need to be at the top. And if you're doing it at the top, other guys should be copying that.
Like, I'll give you an example. Like, Seth Rollins is a tremendous athlete, and he's a huge star, and he deserves everything he's got. But like, he'll do something where he runs over to the guy, he gives the guy a superplex, and he rolls
Yeah.
through with it, and then he does that seated thing, and it barely gets a 2 count, and then within 10 seconds, they're the guys on the offense. It's like these moves just don't mean anything anymore. They just don't. How many super kicks can you see? How many 1, 2, no can you see? I watched the match with Paul Orndorff and Ricky Steamboat the other night, and I'm not breaking any grounds
Nice.
by saying those two are amazing. I'm not That's not everyone who knows pro wrestling knows that. But it was just it was a 20-minute match by two grown men who looked like professional athletes. Who, if they walked into a gym, you'd say, if you're not a wrestling fan, those guys look like somebody. I'm not sure who they
Yeah.
are, but they're somebody. They're not, they're not 300 pounds. They're not 6'10", but they looked like athletes, and they were believable in the ring, and they sold, and they took their time.
I love that. Pretty cool. You're going old school. Steamboat, always a fun watch. Orndorff's awesome too. But if you look at it, and the guys today, like you mentioned with Rollins, are doing a move like a superplex, which Barry Windham, that would be the finish, and very believable as a finish, or very good false finish with like Sting and Flair back in the day or something. But he gets out of immediately. Then he does the Falcon Arrow, which is another finisher, and then the guy kicks out immediately. Yeah, it's just I don't like that style. It just doesn't make sense, and the crowd can't really digest it either. I
Yeah.
know Crowbar, you can wrestle that style though. Still,
Yeah, like I said, I enjoy the older style. I enjoy everything that goes with it. But when I'm out there doing shows now, what the modern style is what it is. So I try to wrestle that style, and I try to bring little components of that old school into my matches wherever ever I can, and I think they stand out and they make my matches different.
now you wrestled everywhere. Literally, you can probably list every company, and you worked there. You had a WCW contract. Do the younger guys ask you advice or no? Because I'm hearing from some of the stars of yesteryear. The young guys today don't even ask the older guys for advice. You know what I mean? They don't ask veterans for advice. Do they ever ask you for advice?
They do. I think I'm pretty approachable in the locker room. I'm real happy-go-lucky, and I'll talk and I'll give advice often, and often it's well received, and other times you could just tell that it goes in one and we're not together. But I'm always happy to help whenever, and it's either in ring or career advice. I always tell guys make sure you have another career, and I'll say, you know, I'm I'm now doing this like 33 years, and at the peak of my career, I had an almost 3 year run with WCW. I had three titles there: the hardcore, the tag team, cruiserweight title. Would you consider that being successful? Would you be happy with something like that? And they all said yes. I said, fair, very fair enough. That's great. Okay. In those 3 years that I did that, I in no way, shape, or form made enough money to sustain me for the rest of my life. Forget a family. I go, so you got to find something else to do. I get really hot when you hear people like, I don't even know who, like you go on YouTube, you see these motivational videos, or you see a lot of these Arnold videos. You got to put all your energy into one goal, because if you have Plan B, you're admitting defeat. You got to put everything into one goal. Well, that's easy. That's hell. You're Arnold. You made it. You movie star, bodybuilding. Real easy for you to say, but for every guy like that made it, there's thousands that don't, and you want to set what people. I say reach for the stars, go for your goal, put everything you have, but you have to have a plan B. And if you want to be successful bad enough, there is time to do it. I pursued pro wrestling at the same time that I pursued physical therapy, and that was at the time when there was no online classes. You had to go in and do the work and drive. I just had no social life. Ask Mike, right? After show, we never really did much. I never did much. I drove to the show and I drove home, and went to school during the week like you did. And weekend came, we did our stuff, and there was very little social time there.
Well, I remember.
So
I
I advise guys to do both. To find something else.
I remember we wrestled in Pittsburgh for the light heavyweight division WWF, and I drove back the whole night through because you had to get to class the next morning. So that's the sacrifices people make, not just for pro wrestling, but for real life stuff. Like Chris he's a success story in wrestling and out of wrestling. So anyone needs advice, you definitely go to him. He got his college degree. We both got our college degrees. But he runs a very successful business. It's not just all or nothing, like he said, all eggs in one basket. No, because if that was the case, where would someone be today if you want to be something in this world? Chris had the opportunity to be.
And it is easier to do today. No, I'm saying, but guys will say, "Oh, that's too hard. You can't." It's easier today than it was way back then. There's so many options to take, online courses, certifications, whatever. You know what I mean? It's way easier than it was.
And let's face it, 99.999% of you, all the guys we see on these indie shows, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. I was extremely talented. Not being cocky. I was extremely talented. I had a lot of buzz. I was one of the top guys in the Northeast. I didn't make it. Thank God I have a college degree. And now there's so many guys out there. There's only so many spots to make a decent living. And if you make it, guess what? You're making it for a year. You're making it for 2 years. You're making it for 3 years.
3 years top, yeah.
50 more years to live, people. 60 years more to live. You definitely need the education. Getting the college degree is the greatest thing I ever did. Because if you told me in 1995 that I wasn't going to be a famous pro wrestler, I would have said you're crazy. But it's entertainment. Subjective. It's entertainment.
Everybody that ran in our group, we always say Mike was the most talented one out of all of us. All of us. He just didn't get that break, unfortunately, but he was by far the best, by far the most talented, the greatest wrestler of our whole guys, our whole group of guys that was running at that time. Just didn't happen.
Well, Ace, he really put you over strong there, and you told me
I always do, without a doubt. We all talk. All the guys he'll never say, but all the guys that ran at our time when we talk now, and we collectively discuss the whole thing. The greatest, the best. Crime that he never got the opportunity.
Wow, and he privately kind of put you down to me. So wow, interesting. He put you over, and then you
click record.
Oh, okay. Now, Ace, would you agree? Better than Mike Quackenbush? Better than Lance Diamond? Are you agreeing with all this? The Inferno Kid is better than the Inferno Kid?
I'm not saying I'm better than everybody. I am saying I'm better than Mike Quackenbush, though.
Oh, okay.
I love Mike Quackenbush. He's a friend of mine. Again, it's do you like vanilla or do you like chocolate? Do you like Star Wars or Star Trek? It's entertainment, man.
Worse. Worse.
Oh, you know who I'm going to message? I'm going to reach out tomorrow to Julio De Niro. I'm going to say, Ace Darling said he was way better than you.
Oh God, there's no. Okay, I'll go on record. I'm better than Julio. You can tell him.
Oh my God!
Please tell him I said that. Hello, Mike Moraldo. It's Julio De Niro. How you been? That'll be the call. That'll be the call I get. But he's a good dude.
Is it true that you said?
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty good praise, though, because that was a good talent pool, I think, in the Northeast at that point, big time.
What's crazy is we had a great group, but like you mentioned some guys. It's crazy how many guys did not get picked up from the Northeast, though. You had the California crew. A lot of them got picked up. You have guys from the Carolina crew. They got picked up.
Yep.
It's crazy that a lot of the Northeast guys didn't.
Yeah, like Reckless Youth probably should have made it, right? I mean, and he didn't really make it either.
Yeah.
I think he got signed, just not brought up, right?
Yeah, he was a part of that fucking dojo camp. Yeah,
he was very talented.
Yep,
very talented,
big time.
The technician Tom Carter. Yeah, he was, in ROH and stuff, but and he was a part of the Funkin' Dojo and stuff like that. But yeah, he never really made it. Like as far as getting that big time TV push.
Someone like him would do very good today.
Yes.
Yeah, big time.
He would be. Yep. He would be a regular sized guy today. He wouldn't be a cruiserweight.
Yep.
He's someone. Take half the guys who are on top today. Take Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and bring them to WWF TV with me in 1993, and they're getting 3 minutes with the head shrinkers. That's all. It's just a different business.
I say this.
Tom Carter. I said Tom Carter.
Can you say?
You go.
Big today, huge. Let's say it's the biggest mind can you say mind fuck? I just said mind fuck. So wrestling today at our the 225, 230, when we came up, before we were a team, and me and Mike were the opening match on every independent card, and we were by far the smallest guys in that locker room. We were small guys, and when we were a tag, we were a rock and roll esque type tag. We were small guys doing, flying around, quick tags, stuff like that. When I do shows now, I'm one of the biggest guys in the locker room, and it's nuts. And newer guys will refer to me as, "Oh, I mean, you're a big guy to be doing that. You're a big guy," and it really is, again, a total mind fuck, because when I came up, it literally was a land of giants, big giant muscle guys that were like, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" on the regular, and I was one of the smallest, skinniest guys, and now I'm one of the bigger guys around. So it's really changed a lot.
Yeah, well, big time. I mean, like back in the day when Bam Bam would be on the indie scene, you know what I mean? Like that he's a big boy, but then everyone else is so much smaller. Nowadays, if you look at the indie scene, let's just say like Brian Danielson doesn't really work indies, but let's say he's out there. He's not a small guy, but if you put him back with Bam Bam in '98, he's super small. I mean, he's one of the smallest by far, and he'd get destroyed. He'd be a jobber.
And I do think that the bigger guys in this day and age, they are underutilized and underappreciated as well. And there's nothing wrong with it. I love high spots. I love extreme style stuff. I love basing for high spots. But I feel sometimes with the bigger guys are kind of shoved to the side because promoters or other wrestlers assume that they can't do the modern style, and that's all that fans want to see. Where meanwhile, there are some very, very talented bigger guys out there. And I think maybe the younger guys want to see, not the wrestlers, the fans might want to see all the guys doing the high spots and aerial stuff like that. But the guys buying the tickets, the parents that still have watched wrestling from back in the day, appreciate the bigger guys being out there, and I think they should be used a whole lot better. That's all.
If I ran an indie show, I'd do? I've always thought this. I'd say to the guys in the locker room, no matter what you guys do tonight is not going to make a damn difference anywhere in the wrestling business, except for the 47 people that are out here tonight. Call it all in the ring. Learn how to work. Call it in the ring. Every match tonight, call it in the ring. Call it in the ring. What do you got to lose? Guys don't know how to do that.
Definitely not.
Because you're doing that modern day style, that high flying modern day style.
Even WWE, I saw it. There was a mistake in a match, and it was a veteran, quote unquote veteran, against a younger person. They did the spot, they missed it. They just rewound and went back and did the spot exactly the same. I was like, oh my god, like it looked so bad. Like you can't do that. Just go. You know what I mean? You have an ad lib, call it in the ring, and change it up. They went right back to the same exact spot. Oh, took me right out of the match. You're just like, oh, come on. Like, just, I mean, it's a work, but it's just like that was just terrible. You can't just go back to the same exact spot and do it all over again.
Mike knows me, though. I can call it in the ring. I can ad lib when there's a mistake, but I am a very photographic regiment. I am one of those guys that likes to know, or at least have a blueprint or a skeleton of how the match goes. And way back in the day, I got heat for being the guy that wanted to know, boom, 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 boom. It's just how my brain works. And I still try to work like that. And a lot of the younger guys do work like that. So when we discuss a match, at first, if they don't know me, they're like, do you want to call it in the ring? Do you want to? I go, no, I like being boom, boom, boom. And usually on their side, it's a sigh of relief. I said, I totally get it. I like calling a match that way too. Back in the day, I used to get a lot of heat for calling a match like that. So it's just how your brain works. But if you do call a match like that, you need to be able to adjust on on the fly as well, and I think I could do that as well.
I know Macho Man obviously liked to have it planned out, but you could
I'm
never
very much
tell.
like that.
But you could never tell it was planned out, and you could tell he was also doing other stuff in between, getting the crowd
Yeah.
involved, making sure they popped at certain spots. And if they didn't, you could see he takes it back and he does something else. And he planned it, but not like today where there are robots out there. I mean, he's very limber, and you can't even tell with what he's up to.
Yeah, that Randy Savage guy, he wasn't half bad. He was pretty good at that.
Yeah, remember that guy? He was actually pretty good.
My favorite.
He was a pretty good draw with money too, because that Mega Powers guys, those Hogan and Savage guys, drew a lot of money together. Yeah.
Yeah, man. There'll never be another Macho Man.
No.
No.
I always say if you did a blueprint of the perfect professional wrestler, it would probably be Macho Man, because the look, the talking, the promos, the wrestling, his punch, just the way he carried himself, his charisma. Like, if you were actually going to put all the pieces together, it's probably Macho Man. It's like the perfect wrestler.
Quick, fast, and aggressive. And I've said it over and over again. Hypothetically, if he was still alive and he did all his stuff exactly the same, the way he punched, the way he elbowed, the way he moved, the way he jumped off the rope, the way his mannerisms, his promo, if he knew how to base for or take modern moves and he kept all his stuff exactly the same, he would hold up 1,000%.
And believability, man. He was believable.
Yes.
You never saw through his stuff. You never saw through his stuff.
No.
You never saw through his moves. And that finish, think about it. It was a flying elbow off the top. Imagine what that does to your body, night in, night out. That's your finish. Your finish isn't the full Nelson. Your finish isn't a bear hug. Your finish is a top rope elbow. That's brutal on your body. Brutal.
Even the leg drop for Hogan, the spine is crunching. When you think about it, not a great finish to have, especially since he went over every night too. He's going over 150 times a year and constantly going down on your spine like that. Not good. As we head towards the finish here, as we head towards the wind down, Ace, you got to end this retirement and you got to reform the Extremist. Do you agree?
I agree that your listeners need to tune into my YouTube channel. Is now a good time for a plug? Is now a good time for a plug?
Sure. You're going to ignore the return. Yes.
I am. Make sure when you're done watching the two-man power trip, John Paz, make sure you check out Wrestling Then and Now on YouTube. Wrestling Then and Now. I have almost 8,000 subscribers. I had a record-setting month right now. It's really going well. I have guests on. I post videos every single day. So please check it out. Give me a subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I'm never wrestling ever again. Never in a million years. Never in a million years would I ever even think of stepping foot in the ring ever again.
Crowbar,
good night, folks. We'll end it here. Good night. Boop.
Crowbar, he should return to ISPW, right?
You're never going to see it. But selfishly, I would love it one more time with him, but I know it's not going to happen, and I know it's for good reason. And I get why. I just miss my friend, and some of the best times in my entire career was with him. I always tear up when I talk about him.
Come here.
Some of the best times of my entire career was with this guy, and just with the car trips, the laughs, with the stories, and all these years later, we still either talk or text regularly. And it's, in pro wrestling, you might get a minuscule, tiny handful of people you could call friend, and I could call him brother. So it's huge win. I love this guy.
Awesome.
Think about it too. You guys teamed from the basically early to mid 90s to like mid 2000s into the end of the 2000s. So long tag team run for the Extremists, the Extreme, very long.
Yep.
We had a lot of good matches, and like Chris said, we had a lot of great times. And yeah, I wouldn't trade him for nothing. I never made money in wrestling, but I definitely made a few good friends, and he's on the top of the list, man. Great dude, a great father, great businessman, great family man.
You too, man. Oh, thank you.
Crowbar, working
the Mutual Admiration Society going on today. This is great. But just with the singles matches and just the tag matches, and I'm not blowing smoke up our own ass, on the Indies, look, we had some freaking amazing tag matches, and it just never came to pass on the bigger stage. But I put our tag our tag work up against anybody's. I think it was that good.
Where can everybody find you, Crowbar?
You can find Crowbar on Wrestling Then and Now. He's been there once by himself and once with Alan
and
Funk.
I'm sure I'll be there again. Yes.
So you want to know about Crowbar? Head over to Wrestling Then and Now. Thank you, folks.
I answer a lot of questions there.
Yeah. That's twice like that. Sorry.
I really just do my Twitter, and I'm on very sporadically. Like once in a while, I'll post and somebody will reply, "Oh, like never got back to me." I literally, if I'm on the toilet, if I have a very small lapse in time at work or here or there, I'll throw something up, or I'll post something, or I'll reply, and I might not be back on for hours and hours and hours. But the one place that I'm probably on the most and I update the most would be my X account, formerly known as Twitter, at WCW Crowbar.
Awesome. Crowbar, Ace, Darling, the Extremist, the Extreme. Guys, thank you so much for all time tonight. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
It was fun, man.
Thanks, John. Always fun talking to
And
you.
go to Wrestling Then and Now.
Yes.
Say it again.
Head up Wrestling Then and Now.
Go to Wrestling Then and Now.
Let's scream it from the rooftops, folks.
Thank you.